Today we're going to be talking about iron sharpens iron. When I read this verse from Proverbs, it kind of goes like this. As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. And I feel like the meaning for this is like pretty clear, is that just like how iron can be used to sharpen iron by like just, whatever it is that blacksmiths do. So us people also, through our interactions with each other, we can also sharpen each other. And for me, this makes me think of a particular experience I've had. When I was in children's church, I think this happened like maybe 2 years ago. There was this day that I remember still very clearly. There was this child, and he was just being like an absolute brat. There was one teacher in front who was trying to like get everybody to listen, like continue with the program, and then this kid was just like being super, super annoying. And when he kept on like trying to like talk over the teacher, even though the teacher was like trying to talk to all the kids, suddenly I felt this like really deep like anger coming from don't know where, coming from deep within myself. And then I just shouted at him across the hall. I was like, "Hey, stop it!" And then I walked over to him and I said, "We're going out now." And then I just pulled him and then we went out of the room. And after I pulled him out, I sat him down and I was like, oh no. I realized that what I did, I think he was a bit stunned at first, because at first like he didn't have like much expression. And then he just started crying. Talking about like 11-year-old kid, which is like not very old, but also not say like super young. He was very, very distraught after that. Then after there was a whole thing, like I just talked to him. Then the father came, then I said, "Hey, sorry, I made your son cry." Then he said, "It's okay, he needs it." I was like, okay, sure. And then afterwards he went back. Now what happened after that was that another senior teacher, she came over to me and she said, "Hey, Jason, I think you shouldn't have done that." And my first reaction was to get very upset and defensive. I was like, do you see how he was behaving? Do you see like what he was doing there? Like he was just being so rude to a teacher, blah, blah, blah. And she said, "Yes, I know. Yeah, he was being rude and we needed to do something. But what you did out there is that you shamed him in front of the rest of the kids, like 100 plus kids. And that's not how we want to like teach the children. It's not good for them." I was still very, very upset. I was thinking like, like this is the kind of mentality that the parents these days have. This is why our kids are growing up like straw. Anyway, it was something along those lines. And I was like still very, very upset. And she said, okay, never mind. Why don't you just go back and you think about it? So I did. I just went back and I really thought about it. I really reflected and I really, really just like considered what I had done. And I realized that actually what I did was not really just for the sake of giving the kid discipline. It came from like my anger, my feeling of like he's so disrespectful and me just like lashing out. And the next week I went and then I put the child to the side and I apologized to him, because I told him that even though you should not have been doing what you were doing, but what I did was wrong also. So my experience, what happened here was that I was sharpened by this senior teacher of mine, and she, like sometimes we feel that, it's nice like when people come to us with a word of like encouragement, people say like, "Oh, you did a good job." But this is something that we need as well, absolutely, for people to come up to you and tell you that something uncomfortable, that, "Hey, I don't think what you do was right. Hey, I feel that this wasn't the best way. I feel like there's a gap here that needs to be addressed." And that's that sharpening. So another word for this process that appears a lot in the Bible is this exhortation. Exhortation, which means something along the lines of like encouragement, about like an appeal that you make to someone. There's this sense of like urging, like I come to you and I'm pleading with you and I'm saying like, hey, like, listen to me. This is what I noticed. Like I feel like we need to do something about this. The word for this in Greek is called paraklesis, which comes from two words, para and kaleo. Okay, para means side or beside. That's where you get words like paralegal, the person beside the lawyer, or you get like paramedic, people who are not necessarily like medically trained but they're helping out, right? Or like two parallel lines, so it's like beside. And then there's kaleo. So kaleo is the Greek word that means like to call. Not the 打电话 kind of call, but like the calling out to someone. Like, hey, I see you over there. And I think it's really beautiful when you put these two words together, because it's kind of like someone is calling out to you from beside you. Okay, he's standing next to you and he's calling out to you. So it's kind of like a picture to me of people who are like encouraging each other when they're running side by side. Like if you went to go and run a marathon with your friend, and then you're just running beside each other and you're kind of like cheering each other on. Yeah, so that's what I think of when I hear about this word, parakaleo. And when you exhort someone, okay, it's kind of like what these runners are doing. The most comfortable thing to be doing at that moment would obviously be to stop running. Like let's be real, no one likes running. I know some people claim to like running, but I feel like it's like you either like the social aspect or you like the runner's high, which I feel like if you like being high, you can get it through other means as well. So when you exhort someone, when you call out to someone beside you, you're not really calling them to be comfortable. You're calling them to be more, to be better. And that's such an important thing to have. So there's two implications of parakaleo being made of these two words. The first one is, what happens if you miss this para part, right? You're just calling out to someone. You're not beside them, you're just calling out. And the implication of this is that not all criticism is exhortation. Okay, not all criticism is exhortation. You might say to yourself, like, hey, like, I just need to, like, I can see the flaws in this person, so I'm just going to call them out. Like, that's exhortation. But it's not, because you may not be beside them. You have not made the commitment to say that I want to walk beside you while doing this. And this is such a critical difference. Like, imagine you're running and there's someone who's just sitting down and they're like, hey, why you form like that, bro? It's like, you're not running with me. You're not, like, what right do you have to, like, to say these things into my life? So, in reverse, if you ever want to criticize someone and you're starting to worry in your heart, you're like, like, am I like trying to help this person, or am I just being like mean and being like bitter? Then this is something that you have to ask yourself. Are you planning to walk by this person? As you criticize them, as you say these things about how you need to change, are you willing to stand next to them and continue and walk with them on this journey? Or is this kind of more like a parting shot, like, oh, you suck, and then like you just, get out of my life, I don't want to see you again. And that's how you can tell, because when the criticism is coming from a place of, I want to walk with you, and this is why I'm calling out, then the person receives it in a totally different way from, I guess, just people who have nothing better to do than to call out your mistakes. Okay, similarly, if we look at the two words, para and kaleo. Para, if you're just beside someone, that is also not exhortation. Just walking with them, in other words, is not exhortation. And what this refers to is that sometimes you think that, okay, in a race, all I need to do is like we run beside each other. Because, everyone goes at their own pace. Yeah, God is dealing with everybody in their time. So I just need to like be there for this person. But this is an exhortation as well, because there's no element of calling out. So let me ask you this. If you are running with someone, your friend, and you suddenly notice that, they look a bit shaky, they're not paying attention to their surroundings, and right in front of them is a big puddle. You see they're going to run right into it. What is the most unloving thing to do in this situation? Is to say that, you know what, this is their walk. This is their run. I just need to run beside them and be there for them at every point. And even after they fall into the puddle or step into the pothole. Because you're not calling out. The thing that you're supposed to do is to say, hey, look in front of you, there's something in front of that and you're going to fall. That is exhortation. That is parakaleo. So why do we need exhortation? It's really closely related to that example I just gave. Let's look at Hebrews 3, verse 12 to 13. It's a letter that was written by, we don't know who, not Paul, because it has a very, very different structure from all of the other Paul letters. And in Hebrews 3, it says this: take care, brothers and sisters, that there will not be in any one of you an evil, unbelieving heart that falls away from the living God. But encourage, and the word they use is exhort. Exhort one another every day, as long as it's still called today, so that none of you will be hardened by the deceitfulness of sin. So when we look at this passage, here's a few things we can pull out straight away. First one, he's talking to who? Christians, right? He's not talking to like just a random like group of people. He's talking to Christians who believe in God, who are following God. And he's saying that, hey, there's a risk of you developing an evil, unbelieving heart that falls away from God. So Christians, we are not immune to falling away. I'm not saying that we are going to lose our salvation. I don't believe that's possible. But it does mean that you can fall away from God. You can slowly grow more distant. Your relationship with God can grow cold. And this is something that we have to avoid. And it says that we can end up developing an evil and unbelieving heart if we continue in our sin. Here's what it also says. It says that receiving exhortation, when you exhort each other every day, then what happens is that through this exhortation, sin won't harden you. And that's a huge claim to make. I see. It means that when the power of exhortation is this, that when we are actively calling out things in each other's lives, when we are actively encouraging each other, it can actually prevent each other from falling into sin. Now, why is this? I believe it's because of what it says over there at the end of the line, that we can be hardened by the deceitfulness of sin. So sin is by nature deceitful. It hides itself. It means that there are some things, some flaws, some faults about ourselves that you can't see. Yeah, they're invisible to you, but to another person, especially someone who's walking beside you, they are as clear as day. And it's our responsibility to call those out, because, if the person cannot see them, then they are going to be tripped. They're going to fall down because of it. So you might say that, hey, but isn't everybody responsible for their own walk? Like, isn't everybody just like developing at their own pace? Like, maybe they can see this sin, maybe they can see this part of their lives, but it's just not their time yet, Lord. God hasn't done that work to convict them of whatever it is they're doing. So to this, I say that it's true. Only God is capable of causing real change in our heart. Yeah, only God can do it, remember. But in Corinthians, Paul does say this. He says, I planted the seed, Apollos watered it, but God has been making it grow. Okay, he says, I planted the seed, Apollos watered it, but God has been making it grow. And this is a picture of how God does work in our lives. At the end of the day, right, when the farmer plants the seed, he can water it, he can have the sunshine on it, he can put the best fertilizer, but he has no part in like whether the seed grows or not, in how it grows. That is the work of God. But for us, we still have such an important job to plant the seeds, to water it, to like create the best conditions for it to grow. It's just like how the teacher in my church was the person who planted this seed in my heart to think about what I did. But it was God who led me to repentance. So, lastly, when should we exhort each other? When should this be happening? The passage is very clear to say, back to this part. What's it called? The previous verse. When should we be exhorting each other? It says that you should encourage, exhort each other every day, as long as it is still called today. It strikes me that whoever the writer was felt that every day was not good enough, that people might forget what every day means, and he had to clarify that it means as long as today is called today, I want you to continue encouraging each other. So when we see that, we're like, wait, you have to encourage each other every day. But my brother is not falling down every day, what? Right? People are not falling to sin every single moment. So where does the exhorting come in? Okay, so this is the next verse that I want us to take a look at. Exhortation doesn't always just have to happen when someone's about to fall down. Okay, it's supposed to happen every single day. So let's look at this. 1 Thessalonians. Finally then, brothers and sisters, we request and urge, which is exhort, we request and urge you in the Lord Jesus that as you receive instruction from us as to how you ought to walk and please God, bracket, just as you actually do walk, that you excel even more. So this exhort, when I put this square bracket, right, this is something that I put in, but I find it so funny. This part that says just as you actually do walk, this is actually in the Bible. And Paul is making it very clear that these people, they are walking right. They are walking rightly with God. They are following the instructions and they are pleasing God. And yet, he's exhorting them to do what? To excel even more. So exhortation is not just about warning each other. It's not just about cautioning, like, hey bro, you're about to fall into sin. Don't do it. It's also about encouragement. Now when you run by yourself, okay, running can be very sian, very tiring. But when you run with other people who are cheering you on, then it's a very different experience. It's just like how this morning Matt and I, we went for our friends. Her friend decided that she didn't want to have a birthday party. She wanted to have a birthday 5K run. Yeah, so I don't know, man. I just go along with my wife. And as we are running, there were some people there who they say that they haven't run in a very, very long time. They feel so unfit. They feel like they're going to give up after the first 5 minutes. But they didn't, yeah. Because we were beside each other, we were running as a group, and then we were cheering each other on. We were exhorting each other and saying that, hey, I know you want to stop. Okay, I know it's tiring, but I want you to excel even more. And that's what kept us going. And that's what helped us to finish the 5K successfully. Also, the thing that motivated us was if you don't finish the 5K, then you're letting the birthday go down. But that's separate. Okay, you still need the exhortation. So there were times as well when I feel like I've been pushed, that I've been pushed out of my comfort zone to excel even more. One time when Matt brought me to Papua New Guinea, we did this sharing, and then there was this guy. He's a pretty nice guy, but with the one caveat that he is a hired killer. Yeah, we talked, and then after the session, he was like, "Hey, can you come with me to my village? Okay, my village is in a mountain somewhere, so I want you to hike with me up to the village." I asked him, "Okay, how long is it going to take?" Then he said, 2.5 hours. And that's okay. I was thinking, oh yeah, 2.5 hours there and back, can still continue. Doesn't seem too bad. Then I clarified with him, oh, okay, it's 2.5 hours one way, and then another 2.5 hours back down. And I was kind of worried because I'd never been there before. I'll go by myself. I didn't really know what to expect. And us being sheltered Singaporean, right? This guy is a not serial killer, hired killer. I don't know if he has hired killer friends who don't like my face. I don't know what's going to happen. But when I kind of talk to other missionaries, talk to people around, then they encourage me. They're like, actually, it's okay, one. You're not going to die. If you do, we'll send your body back. But then they did encourage me and they exhorted me, and I decided to go. And here's a picture. When I went there, I felt I was so blessed to see what was going on because we shared what had been going on in the town with the people there. This guy who really has this reputation for being heartless, a heartless killer. He was the one who stood up in front of everyone and he told them his testimony. And I was so blessed to see God working through all of that. Yeah, and it wouldn't have happened if people didn't encourage me to excel even more. And then I walked back for 2.5 hours. Okay, so this is what this exhortation, this sharpening is about. So I'm just going to get into 3 principles about what this kind of thing, this exhortation or this sharpening should look like, and go back to that analogy of how iron sharpens iron. So what does sharpening need? It needs close contact. That's one, right? Because if I don't put my blade to the, what's that thingy called? The grindstone. I guess a grindstone is not really iron, but you get my point. If there's no contact, there's no sharpening. Number 2, it needs friction and not clashes. And number 3, sharpening needs to be done regularly. So let's go into point 1. Okay, sharpening needs close contact. So we need to stay close to each other if we want to be sharpened. This is the para aspect of the parakaleo. You don't expect a knife to be sharp if you just go touch the thing and okay, done. It's usually a long process where the person has to stand there and then slowly go through each part of the blade, slowly sharpen each part, make sure that it's straight. And that's how sharpening looks in our lives. When we walk together as a church, this is something that needs to happen. It's very, very hard to be in this kind of relationship with a person where you can speak into each other's lives if you don't spend enough time with each other. Yeah, so number 1, close contact. Number 2, friction and not clashes. Okay, sharpening needs friction and not clashes. What do I mean by that? There's 2 cases that I think of when you say iron meets iron. Yeah. The first one is when you have swords that are colliding like this. Okay, so this is a kind of iron meeting iron. The other one is maybe a chef who is using two pieces of metal to sharpen each other. I mean, I guess in this case only the knife is being sharpened, but you get my point. So what does this mean? There's conflict that sharpens us. And there is conflict also that chips us, that dulls us. And I can say that usually this kind of conflict, when you have two swords hitting each other, no one is being sharpened, people are only being damaged. This only happens when people care more about truth than love. Yeah, the Bible tells us to speak the truth and love. But if you care more about the truth and you just say that, hey, like my truth is a gift to the world, I'm just going to use this as an excuse to just criticize people and never consider their feelings. I'm sorry, but you're not sharpening them. You're not exhorting them. You're just being a dick. Yeah. So there's a story about John Wesley, and he was a great theologian. And he said that a woman once came to John Wesley, and she said, Mr. John Wesley, I think I know what talent God has given me. I know what's my talent from God. She said, I think my talent from God is to speak my mind, to always be able to speak my mind no matter the consequences. I can always give people the truth. And John Wesley replied, I don't think God would mind if you buried that talent. Because speaking forth everything that just comes to you is not wisdom. That's not love. Okay, that's just being rude. So that's truth without love. What happens if it's the other way around? If you only have love and no truth? If you have this, then no change can happen in another person. If the moment you feel any kind of friction between you and another person, the moment you feel the slightest bit of like tension in the relationship, you're ready to just take a step back. Like, no, I don't want to approach this. Then that's also wrong. Because if you have like thoughts that hold you back, you're thinking like, oh man, like what if he thinks that I'm judging him, he doesn't like me anymore? What if like they just ignore me? Like what if they just are not going to listen to me and therefore like I back off? Then you're not fulfilling your responsibility to exhort another person. You're not fulfilling your responsibility to correct them and to right their way. So we are looking for friction, but not for these kind of clashes. Lastly, this sharpening is something that should be happening regularly. And all of us, throughout our days in life, we can get dull, just like knives do. And you need to be sharpened again. Because, I mean, after we listen to this, we're going to go back to our own lives. We have new temptations to deal with. We have new challenges from work, new people who come to test our patience, and just as God's mercies are new every morning, so the kind of challenges that we receive. And all of these things are things that will dull us over time if we are not careful. So don't ever think that we are going to just like get over our sin and we'll never look back, because that's unrealistic. Usually we struggle with it. We have periods where we are like giving up, where we are trying our best to become better and then we don't. And this is just part of the Christian life. We need to be constantly sharpened. We need to constantly look at ourselves, look at each other, and call things out. Because this is what God has called us to do. As long as it is called today, you should be exhorting and sharpening each other. Right, so and I just want to invite Yaka to come up and maybe just play a closing song for us. I didn't want this to be too long. Give us some time to explore the ways that we have been sharpened later on when we discuss. But I kind of just want to get back to what the heart of exhortation is. And if you forget everything else in this sharing, this is one thing that I want you to hold close. Every kind of exhortation, everything that we say to each other can be summed up in 3 words. Okay, it's not I love you, it's not 对不起, it is Jesus is better. Jesus is better. And this is our sole role in exhorting each other. This is how we can go to each other and make each other not feel like you are judging me for my sin. How to not make each other feel that, that you don't care about me, that you have forgotten about what needs to be done. You just need to constantly remind each other that Jesus is better. Jesus is better than whatever situation it is you're going through. Jesus is better than whatever sin it is that you're struggling with. That even if you are really just falling down, even if like your friend is doing very well already, and it feels like he doesn't have anything to do, you can still push him to excel more because Jesus is better. There's always something to look forward to. There's always something to desire. There's something new and fresh about Jesus, that he's superior to everything else in every single way. And as long as we keep pushing ourselves to that goal, then we are walking in God's will. So right now I just want to have this time for us to really reflect in our lives. Number one, about the times when people have sharpened us. How did it feel to you? How, even though at the start it might have been uncomfortable, it might have felt like they don't love me, but you see how much better you've grown because of that. And also to just think about the times when we have been withholding this kind of love from other people, that because we want to avoid discomfort, because we are worried about what's going to happen when we do it, that we don't exhort people, we don't sharpen them the way that we should be doing. Yeah, so as we sing this song, let's just commit this time to God and let him speak to us.